Now, Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon.
Bonjour, and welcome to Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon, the show where we discuss very important matters like poison or, well, actually the answer is poison, so we don't need to go any further than that. But today we have got from the band Brighton Rock and new project Storm Force, it is guitarist Greg Fraser. Now, years ago in 2013, I did a Kiss tribute, and the guys at Brighton Rock said, hey, we'd love to be part of this tribute. Can we be on this tribute? And I said, okay, fine. Send me a song and we'll have a listen. And they sent me this epically slow version of Creatures of the Night. And I remember getting it, and I remember putting it on, and I remember thinking, all right, here come the drums, here comes the big intro, it's going to be massive and powerful. And then it was acoustic guitars and a voice and a ballad. And I went, what the is this? I said, oh God, there's not a chance that I'm going to put this on the CD. And now I've got to go back to these guys and come up with some kind of reason. You know, I couldn't get the rights. I ran out of room and Anyway, I put this CD called A World with Heroes. You can check it out on iTunes exclusively, or Apple Music, whatever it's called now. And anyway, so I had these songs, and the idea was to make a 12-song CD to benefit the Soulange Palliative Care Home here locally in Montreal. And folks like Greg and Brighton Rock and stuff started sending me these songs. I ended up with all these songs. It ended up being a double CD, 40 songs. But as I was going through everything, this one song kept coming back, and I couldn't figure it out. I kept singing it, going, na na na, creatures of the night. And I was like, wow. I was like, okay, hold on. And because I was trying to place in my head what Kiss ballad this could be. And so eventually I went through all the songs again, the whole pile, and I found it. And I went, it's this Creatures of the Night song. Oh my, and stepped away. But anyway, the CD took about 9 months to make. And so I had this battle going on. And eventually I just went, you know what? This is brilliant. Because of all the songs, a lot of great versions. I mean, every song on there is great on this A World with Heroes project. But this one kept coming back to me. I'd walk the dog, and it just kept coming back in my head. So it went on the CD, and then eventually with filmmaker Brian Sword, they made a video, and the video Creatures of the Night from the album is readily available on YouTube. I haven't checked recently, but the last time I checked, it had tens of thousands of views. And you know what? They nailed it. They really nailed it. I think part of doing a tribute, other than the fact that we were raising money, is you're going to cover a song. Well, don't cover it the way the band did it, because we know that. And quite frankly, unless you're Metallica, whose covers are better than anything that's come before them, there's no point in doing an AA cover, you know, a point A to a point A cover, like a one-for-one kind of thing. You need to mix it up. You need to add some different fills, change the guitars, change the vocal, change the tempo, blah, blah, blah. And in terms of making a song their own, Brighton Rock did it. Anyway, so big thank you to Greg and the guys in Brighton Rock for stepping up and giving me that tune 7 years ago now. 7 years ago now. Boy, time flies. But he's back with Storm Force, a new band, and it is a force to be reckoned with. And yes, I went for the easy pun because, well, I'm actually recording this at 9 o'clock in the morning. That's why. I'm not fully awake to get into dissertations. Anyway, check out Storm Force. Check out my interview with Greg Fraser. And, well, here you go. Here is the one, the only, as we say in Montreal, le seul et unique, Greg Fraser. We are speaking with Greg Fraser of Brighton Rock, but, of course now, Storm Force. Bonjour, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Mitch. How about yourself?
Good. I am surviving these somewhat unique times, special times that we're living through. But, Yeah, let us get to talking about this album and stuff. So I've got a bunch of questions, but I also want to quickly thank you for Brighton Rock and yourself and the guys stepping up on this Kiss tribute I did back in 2013. You all got together. You did a very haunting acoustic version of Creatures of the Night, which was just amazing. It really was amazing. I remember listening to it the first time going, oh, what is this? And then it just kept playing in my head, and it kept playing in my head. And then I got it, And now that's, to me, it's like one of my favorite tracks. And then you guys did a video for it, and
Wow.
It's just fantastic. So if folks haven't seen that, go check out Brighton Rock doing Creatures of the Night. It's on YouTube, and it is. So thank you for that, because it was done for my my wife's father who had passed away. So thank you.
Well, thank you for letting us play on that. That was such an honor. And it's funny, I forgot the gentleman's name. He co-wrote that song with Paul Stanley, and you did an interview with the guy.
Mitchell.
Do you remember the guy? Yes. And I guess he reached out to you saying, hey, like, who did the arrangements? I want to reach out to the guy. And all of a sudden you gave him my phone number, and was not expecting it. And he called and left a message in my machine saying, hi, I'm one of the co-writers of Creatures in the Night, and I wanted to tell you I love your version, and don't tell Paul Stanley if you ever see him. I like your version better than Kiss. And that's amazing to hear something like that. And I want to thank you for that, because you made that happen, man. And that was a great thing that you did, putting that together, because a lot of times those compilation CDs and efforts, they kind of all fall flat. But yours was amazing, and everybody stepped up to the plate. You had a lot of famous names out there, all did killer jobs, and yeah, man. So thank you for doing that. That was a great thing you did, and we're proud to be part of it.
Yeah, and it raised $35,000 for the palliative care home, and thank you for the compliment. But I got to say, you're right with tribute albums and stuff. They usually fall flat, and so I listened to all of these songs meticulously, and no disrespect to anybody, but I rejected 3. There were 3 of them. I just thought, no, this is hokey. This tribute for my father's wife cannot be hokey, and there is not a single performance on that album that I am embarrassed about or go, oh yeah, just skip that one. No, none. Every single one of them have a unique quality and have a lot of heart. They have a lot of heart. Everybody put heart into that. So
absolutely, yeah, that was a great thing, man. You should do another one day. I know it was you're probably glad it was over with. All the headaches and a lot of little tedious stuff you got to go through, but you did an amazing job, Mitch. You should be really proud of that, man. And the fact that you raised that kind of money, unbelievable. I mean, that's crazy that you made that kind of money. But there's a special place in heaven for you, my friend.
Thank you, and it is amazing, because a lot of albums come out and they don't make that kind of cash. And this one, and I don't want to speak about me the whole time, though. That would be a great interview too, quite frankly. No, but listen, we did have to pay all the mechanical rights. We did have to pay all the printing. We did have to pay the mastering and stuff. So, the album must have raised about $50,000 or $45,000 or something like that.
Wow.
So, which is kind of phenomenal. And people go, "Whoa,
it is."
Anyway, but let's get over to Stormforce, because talking about myself, we'll have an hour special, and it's just not. It's just. It's not. So, all right. So, folks who may or may not know Brighton Rock, one of these bands out of Canada in the scene back in the day with, Honeymoon Suite and Killer Dwarfs and Kim Mitchell and trying to think. Oh, Dance Desire, Haywire.
Haywire, yeah.
Haywire. Sure. There's a good band for you. So you came up in that scene. Great melodic rock. Where are we with that band right now? Is that sort of, we'll do one show every couple of years, or is that still an ongoing concern for you?
Well, yeah. I mean, we broke up basically 1991. We got our record deal in 85, so we had a good run there. And then after that, we did a little reunion show, benefit show, like in 2000 and stuff like that. But since 2012, we got offered to play a festival in England called Firefest. And, I've always kept my eyes on that festival. Like, wouldn't it be great to play that? And then they offered, hey, don't you get Brighton Rock, not to me, to our singer, Jerry, get Brighton Rock back together and come over and play. And so Jerry reached out to us and was, hell yeah. And it was such a great thing, you know. And then 2013, the following year, they offered us another slot at the next festival. And so since then, it was like, you know, we're not a full-time band anymore. So we've basically did like 2 or 3 shows every year since then. Except for the last year, we played the Monsters of Rock cruise in 2019, but we haven't played any since then. But yeah, it's not a full-time band. It's just, you know, we just like to get together once in a while to have some fun, you know, and that's it. We did try to put a record out in 2012, 2013, but it's just our lives are so scattered now. Everybody's living in different parts and have different, you know, lifestyles now, whatever, you know, families and marriage. And so the idea for us to get together to be a full-time thing like back in the day and put a quality record out is a real tough thing. We did to try to do it, but it was impossible. Just getting our schedules together, you know, to make a record is tough. Well, like even just to do a show, just to rehearse for a show, it's so hard for us to get us all in the same room these days. But yeah, so that's it, you know. And so in the meantime, in the last little few years, I decided to put Stormforce together. And, you know, it's like make a record because I could continue to write songs. I never stop writing songs. It's just something I do all the time. So, and then songs start building up, and then next thing you know, we're ready to make a record, and we did. So, and I think you said you have it right in front of you there.
I do. It's in fact propped up against the computer screen actually right now. So there.
Nice.
But let's talk about Stormforce then. Is that another situation like Brighton Rock where it's tough to get together and you'll do stuff every so often? Or is this a going concern where it will be, here's the first album, Age of Fear, we're gonna work it, we're gonna go do some shows around town, and then we'll try to, you know, expand the boundaries? Or where do we go with this, and what's sort of the plan with this new band?
Well, this is my number one priority music-wise. I don't have any other side projects. If I do have a side project, it would be Brighton Rock because, you know, we're not a thing anymore. Like you know, like I said, we get together once or twice a year to do a show. And other than that, nothing happens, nothing goes forward. And like I said, I continue to write music. So I made a point with this band. And it wasn't that easy, but I want to make sure, because with Brighton Rock, 3 of the guys live like an hour and a half away from myself and our bass player. So it's always been a struggle, like even since the beginning, just to get together for even like a band meeting. It's always like, you know, so I made sure that, you know, being from Niagara Falls, that I want to have some guys that like live close to me. And so that we can have a band meeting. Okay, I'll see you in an hour. We'll get together. Like, so I managed to find some top-notch guys, like at the top of their game, that only live 15, 20 minutes at the very most from my house. So that's huge. So we can literally get together all the time, you know, and that's great when you're making a record and stuff, because I don't want to be one of those bands. Nothing wrong with it, but, you know, a lot of bands now, they're mailing in their parts. I mean, there's bands that have made records that they've never even met each other. They just mail their part in. Here's my part. Here's your part. We'll compile it all together, and then there's the record. It's like, I didn't want that. I still want the old school where everybody records in the same studio. You know, we're cheering each other on. We're ball busting each other, and, you know, our singer will be singing his ass off. It's like, wow, that was pretty good. Let's record this one. What do you mean? You didn't record that one? You know, just little stuff like that. You know, just cheering each other on. And yeah, so we can rehearse anytime we want. We can get together anytime we want. You know, like it's even like a band meeting. So just a little stuff, a photo shoot. Yeah, no problem. We'll see you on Tuesday at 6:00. Boom, we're all there. And so that's yes. This is my number one priority. I don't have any other groups I'm trying to get off the ground. This is it, man. And you know, we did have our debut show, which is supposed to be April 24th, but that's, you know, it doesn't look like it's going to happen now with everything that's going on. But yeah, going forward, this is my band, man. So we're definitely going to have a Stormforce 2 and Stormforce 3 if, people still want to hear us and stuff like that going forward. But, this is my number one priority, Mitch.
So that's good. Now, fans that are listening will obviously guess, listen, they're on Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon. This is a rock band. But for folks that may not be familiar with what the sound is, and you're trying to get them to pick it up and to check it out, what is this reminiscent of? Is this completely new? Are we breaking new ground? Are we paying homage to the 70s, the 80s? For a fan, now I've heard it, and I think it's great, but for a fan that hasn't heard it, what can you tell them about the album?
Well, I mean, all of my influences are from the 70s. Like, I'm 56 years old, and, so all those great groups you like, that are from the 80s that are very popular, all their influences are all from the 70s. So, and I still draw back to those times as, the groups that I still go back to and I still have fond memories of, like the Deep Purple and Led Zeppelin and, even like Fleetwood Mac and Elton John and, Frank Marino. I listened to you do the Frank Marino interview, like all stuff like that. Those are my influence, and that carries over into the 80s. And then some of those bands might rub off on you, on me or whoever is being a songwriter. So, I would say it's got a touch of the 80s, touch of the 70s, with the modern sounds of the 90s and the 2000s. But, we're not reinventing the wheel here. We're not trying to invent something. It's like we just literally get together like the old school. And it's like, hey, man, let's just work on this song. I got this riff. You like this? Yeah, let's work on that. Oh, that riff sucks. Okay, well, let's try this one. And then, we all look at each other and it's like, hey, man, I like it. Yeah, that's great. And so that's what it is to us. It's not like, well, yeah, we don't like that because it sounds like it's the 80s. No, man, if it sounds good, it sounds good. And, the reviews have been fantastic all over the world. And, every once in a while you might see something like that. Well, they're not reinventing the wheel, but, what we're hearing is it's almost fresh sounding because a lot of the new stuff that's coming out doesn't have that sound anymore. People are afraid to go back there. But, we've got some really quality production on it. So it sounds fresh even though it might have an 80s touch to it. So, yeah, man, we'll wear our hearts on our sleeves, man.
It sounds great to me. All right, so I do want to go back and visit the early Brighton rock just for a second, and we'll get back to Stormforce. But you worked with many producers, and I want to get your story. So you've worked with Michael Wagner, you've worked with Jack Richardson, and you worked with Toby Wright. Now,
and Bo Hill also. I worked with Bo Hill, but okay, go ahead.
Yes, and Bo Hill. So let me start with Toby Wright. He, of course, was a more later on producer, more grunge. He did, Kiss's Carnival of Souls. You see, I got to bring everything back to Kiss, right? Just pay attention.
I'm with you, buddy.
Right?
I'm a Kiss fan.
But talk to me about that, because he produced your last record, and he really was doing sort of more of those grungy type bands. What was that like having him in there? Did he come in there and just say, okay, boys, it's 1991, you got to change your sound? Or was he just, hey, let's see what we're, talk to me about working with him on Love Machine.
Well, Toby, up until then, I don't know if you're aware of this, but Brighton Rock, that was the first record he ever produced. Up until then, he was always an engineer. His main guy was a guy that you interviewed, Ron Nevison. All those Ron Nevison records, if you look, it's always engineered and mixed by Toby Wright. So that was, so he was looking to branch out and to become a producer on his own because he was always, Ron Nevison would get all the glory. And, a lot of times Toby was doing a lot of stuff, but wouldn't get much of the credit. And, so if you look at Toby's discography, like it's unbelievable who this guy's worked with. Like the biggest records you could think of, you'll see his name there. Metallica and Heart and Whitesnake and Kiss, and it's endless. So I can't remember how we first got in touch with Toby, but when we were looking to have somebody produce the record, he somehow the record company goes, yeah, check this guy out. He wants a producer. He wants to become a producer, but up until then, we started hearing the records. Oh God, I love it. Oh, that's a killer record. Oh, that record's unbelievable. So we flew out to LA and he did some demos just to hear what it sounds like. Here, let's record and see if you like my sound. And it was killer. And then to get back to your question, did he come in and change things? Not really at all, because that was the thing he liked about us. He liked what we had. He liked what we brought to the table. And, he definitely made some suggestions. Well, all producers will do that because, they're good at that. They can have an outside ear. Sometimes you get a little too close to the songs and he'll bring a different perspective. But that was the great thing about Toby. He's roughly the same age as us. So we got along fantastically. We would hang out when we're not recording. We'd stay together in our hotels and stuff like that, and condos or whatever it was. And, so what he brought was a great sound palette for sure. And he brought a fresh approach to producing because it's his first time producing. The next record he produced was Alice in Chains. So, shows like his production credentials definitely skyrocketed after that. But, it was fantastic working with Toby, and he's a great guy. I still call him a friend, and every once in a while we'll talk on emails and, jokes and stuff. But, it was a pleasure working with Toby.
Yeah, Toby's great. Then, of course, Michael Wagner. He did Young, Wild, and Free, the Brighton Rock. He's done, of course, Alice Cooper, Dokken, Great White. He mixed Master of Puppets, Skid Row, No More Tears he mixed. He did. He produced Porno Graffiti. Just trying to think what else he did. Megadeth. Anyway, what was it like working with Michael? Go
ahead. Okay. I was sorry to interrupt you, but there's another thing. There was another guy that didn't really get his claim to fame on a worldwide scale yet. I mean, like our record he did was before Skid Row. It was before Extreme. It was before No More Tears. It was before all these bands. The only band any significance that he was working with was Dokken. And when we were looking for producers, the label itself, they a lot of times back then, because we were signed with Warner, we international. So a lot of times producers, they want to get their name out there. So they would submit constantly to the labels. Say, hey man, if you got anybody, I want to produce your record or any of your roster. So all the rock because we were one of the only rock bands signed to Warner at the time, and all these rock producers are up and coming, they would send them basically to me or say, hey man, what do you think of this? Do you like any of these? So I heard Michael, he was doing Dokken, but it wasn't out yet. It was under lock and key. And so I was one of the first people in Canada to ever hear that. So when I heard that, it's like, oh my God, this sounds fantastic compared to everything else I was hearing. Everything else had, I hate to say it, but a real generic Canadian predictable sound. Afraid to take any chances because you might not get on the radio and stuff like that. And Michael's from Germany. He's a hard rock fan. He grew up with Udo from Accept, literally since they were kids. So hard rock and metal and stuff is in his blood. When he came up to Canada, he's like, fuck the radio, fuck singles. Let's make a rock record, man. We're going, yeah, right on, one of us. So. And he was funny as hell. It was just like laughs. There's always laughs. And at the time, because we didn't have any money, any cent we had was going back into the record. So we were literally sleeping on the studio floors because we couldn't afford a hotel room and we couldn't afford to drive back to Niagara Falls, Hamilton every night. So we'd literally, hide behind coaches and stuff so that the guys from Phase One studios wouldn't know we were actually there because that's a real no-no. But Michael would take us out every day for dinner. They'd pay for it all for all of us and, lunch and stuff like that. So you never forget that kind of stuff, man. He was fantastic to work with. I learned so much from him, how to get a good guitar sound, he's really good with arrangements, getting to the point. He was really good with Jerry, our singer. It was fantastic work with. I learned so much from that guy. To this day, when I go in the studio, I still remember those little things that he's taught me, and I still use that to this day, little things that he's taught me, 30, 35 years later.
Now, what I want to do is move away quickly from the producers for a second, and
sure.
I want to talk about your time in Helix because you came in in the early 90s, you replaced Paul Hackman, who had passed away.
Yep.
Talk to me about that, because there is one thing about coming into a band where some guy left or some guy fired, but what was it like coming in where somebody passed away? Because there's a great love for Paul. We all love Paul. He was one of the great premier guitarists from Canada. Was that an uncomfortable situation for you, or was it sort of stepping in and saying, hey, we're going to celebrate Paul? How was that for you?
I'd say it was a bit of both from what you said. It was a little uncomfortable for a number of reasons. Number one would be, back to Brighton Rock. I founded that band, so, that was my vision. And then Jerry, when we got Jerry in the band, it became his vision too. And then, so, we watched that group grow on our terms. So, after like 8-10 years, you get used to being in a certain way. And then when I joined Helix, I was a sideman. It was pretty much, right off the top, we're hiring, we're not looking for a full-time guy. Who knows if how this will unfold, but you're a sideman, and okay, I'm up for it. I'm not playing in another Brighton Rock's already broken up. And, but those guys are great. We did little tours with them prior to that. So, and the bass player, Daryl Gray, he lives like 15 minutes from my house right now. So we had a weekend band together when our bands weren't playing, called Scurvy Dogs, which I think he still has going. And so, we knew each other. And then when that unfortunate thing happened with Paul, they basically said, hey, man, are you into this? And went down and did a little rehearsal, and it was, it was a good fit, but it was kind of weird because, people sometimes, because back then the internet wasn't, I don't know if it even existed back then. Did it in 93-ish, 92? I'm not even sure.
Well, it did if you were in the military, I think. But for the rest of us, I was in university, but we had access to like Usenet and email, but really what was it? Netscape?
Yeah. But,
and web crawler. All the good old, oh God, I just aged myself. All right, go finish your story.
But what I was trying to say is, so back then, when we go on tour out west and wherever in the States, because a lot of people didn't have the internet, so unless you happen to see something in the newspaper at a glance or happen to see one little clip on Much Music, a lot of people didn't know that Paul passed away. So they'd come up to the show and it's like, well, who's this guy? Where's Paul? And then, you got that awkward, like, oh, okay, well, how come you're in the band? Where's Paul? And it's like, oh, okay, I guess you haven't heard, eh? So that's kind of awkward, little stuff like that. And, but I loved it. I loved playing in that band. Great guys. I learned a lot with those guys, but it wasn't Brighton Rock because it wasn't my vision. So on the other hand, I kind of like doing things my way too. And being a sideman was real new to me. And, it's where your opinion's not really needed a lot of the times. So it's like, okay. I get that. This is all new to me and, I'm a team player and let's move on forward. But had some great times with those guys, man. We did some great shows, great band, tight band, great vocals, great harmonies. So, and they're still out there, man, and they're still killing it. So I wish those guys all the best.
Yeah, you got to respect Brian Vollmer. I mean, through all the lineup changes, through all the industry changes, through all the delivery of the music changes from CD to cassette to 8-track to, stream, he's kept it afloat. I mean, it's hard to keep that afloat. And it's especially hard to keep it afloat when you have Archie Gamble in your band. Boy, he's a son of a... No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, because I know he might listen to this, so I just had to get that in there. But
Archie, what's up, buddy?
yeah, you got to love Archie. I remember he friended me on Facebook, and I went, who's this fuck? No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Let's start wrapping up here. So let's just get over to Stormforce. So this is the first of, and I'm going to name it again. Age of Fear is the first of many, right? It's not just a one-off. You're hoping, or the plan is, we'll do this, we'll do the cycle, and then come back next year and we'll have more songs for you, and you'll keep going.
Oh, absolutely. Like we're writing right now. I mean, like I haven't stopped writing, so I've got a records material ready to go. It's just the other guys got to catch up and get in the game and start writing lyrics and stuff like that. And this is it, man. These guys are fantastic people. We get along great. We hang out when even when we're not playing together. It's not just a band to make a record and then we all go our separate ways. No, the thing too with the other guys in the band, because they never really had a lot of exposure on a worldwide level, being in bigger bands. This is all exciting to them too. So, and that's great for me, because sometimes you get a little jaded being in the business as long as I have. You start taking stuff for granted that other newer guys like, whoa, this is fantastic. And you look at I guess that is fantastic, because you've already seen it before, so it doesn't. It doesn't excite you as much as it should, and it should, because any kind you get a great review, or like the fact that I'm talking with you, the fact that you want to do an interview, that's fantastic, because you're a big league interviewer, and the fact that that we're on that interview stage with you, that says a lot. So yeah, man, there's no way that this band will ever break up unless the other guys had enough, but I can't see how, because it's such an exciting time for us right now, man. And
it's a great album. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that last 10 seconds, I'm going to clip it, and I'm going to send it to my wife about how great I am. That's what I'm going to do. And I'll finish on this. You did mention that Adam Mitchell, the co-writer of Creatures of the Night, phoned and left a voicemail. Did you ever sort of consummate that phone call? Did you get him on the phone and spend 10 minutes?
I did. No, I did. I called him back immediately, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God. And he was great. He goes, I love your guitar solo and that. And that meant a lot. It's like, whoa, he's actually pointing that out, little stuff like that. And he loved the arrangement, and he goes, it's so different. At first, it took me aback. It's like, what's this? And I remember our singer, Jerry, when he first heard it too, I kept warning him, Jerry, it sounds nothing like the record. It's more haunting. It's like a haunting ballad. So when he first heard it coming through his headphones, he's going, what the hell is this? He couldn't grasp it. And then he loved it once he sunk his teeth in, and the same with Adam. I really want to thank you for that, man. For him you gave him my number, and he left that message on my machine. It's like, whoa! I wish I would have kept
cool.
that.
And I never knew he actually got in touch with you, because a lot of people say, "Oh, I'll give this guy a call," and then 3 years later, he never called me. But
no, he did, man. He's very complimentary on the machine. I couldn't believe it. I go, "Is this a joke?" No way, but I didn't recognize the voice, and I could tell the guy just wasn't he didn't act like he was joking. And that was real cool of you to do that, man. I really appreciate that, and I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that, man. And like I said, I don't know if I repeat it again. He goes, "Don't tell Paul Stanley, but I like your version better."
Well, and it's funny because I had the same reaction. I think most people have the same reaction, because it's got those big drums and it's bombastic, and you put it on the first time, and I remember, was it you or was it Jerry? Anyway, somebody sent it to me and said, "Would you consider this for the album?" And I went, and I put it on. And I went, "Oh, what the hell is this?" And then I had all these other submissions, and I don't mean this is not being rude or anything, but I had all these other submissions, and there was one that I kept playing in my head. I'd go walk the dog, and I go, what the fuck? So I would go through all the songs that came in, and I go, which one is that? Which one? Because it was the one that was sticking in my head.
Wow.
And then I heard Creatures of the Night, and I figured out that it was that song, and I go, that's got to go on then, because it comes back. It's the one that keeps coming back. And then somebody reached out and said, "Listen, I'd like to donate my video skills, and we'll do the video." And then you saw the video.
Brian Sword.
Yeah, Brian. Right. Correct. Wasn't trying to forget Brian, but he volunteered, and then I went, you know what? That's exactly the spirit of this project: just volunteering, doing this. We're going to get this money over to the palliative care home, which we did, and just the whole thing it just left a great taste. Like it was very much a sense of community, and it was just like, you know what? That's fucking perfect. That's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Well, I owe it all to you, man. I mean, if you wouldn't have had this great idea to do this in the first place, that song wouldn't have existed. Because I remember, it's like, what song can I do that nobody else is? I'm sure everybody's going to pick the obvious Detroit Rock City and Shout It Out Loud, the obvious ones, right? So I got to dig a little deeper and try to find that one that's kind of stand out in its own. And yeah, it is. That's what we got, man. And that's what is that? 7 years now. 8 years ago already?
2013, and of course, if you ever do a Storm Force Deluxe Edition and want to throw it on there, you have my blessing. It is.
Right on.
And on that, you know what? Is there anywhere people can find you? I mean, I know you can go to Amazon Canada and places like that and find it, but if you're in Australia, or if you're because I have a lot of listeners in Australia, a lot of listeners in the States, their Amazons may or may not have it. So is there a website that we can direct them to?
If you want autographed CDs and stuff like that, it's stormforce.ca. So that would, that's pretty well for the world. But if you just want, we're on Spotify and every platform there is, you name it, we're on it. In Europe, I should say that we're signed to Escape Music, which is based out of the UK. So it might be cheaper if you're going to buy a CD to maybe get it from, even though I'm taking money in my own pocket. But Escape, they're based out of the UK. So if you are from Australia, you can get a rate from Escape Music, limited. So they have a website too. And like I said, we're on all the platforms, man. So, if we have a Facebook page, official Stormforce page, all the links are there. Also, if you want to go on that page, give us a like, and it has all the links to our Ural page. And man, it's everywhere. We're not hard to find, my friend.
You're not hard to find. And while you were saying that, I typed in amazon.co.uk, the British one, and you check up Stormforce, and it is there. To buy for £7, which is a great deal, and you can also stream it. So it is available worldwide, fans, and you should pick it up. It is very, very honest, straightforward, hard melodic rock, and that's what I like. So there you go. Merci, monsieur. Thank you.
God bless you, Mitch.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Merci beaucoup, my friend, and till the next time, have a great one.
This has been Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon. For more exclusive content and interviews, subscribe on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, on YouTube, and many more. Follow Mitch on all the socials, especially Twitter, @Mitch Lafon, and on Instagram, @Mitch_Lafon. Get your Mitch merch now at loudtracks.com/Mitch.